All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to start off by giving all praises, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and unto the elders of Green Millstone, GMS, taught me this truth. Honors to the brethren in the Akim, that's pushing out this truth with all sincerity and in faith, and to Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for allowing me once again to come back with another lesson. And the title of this lesson is simply going to be titled Trust. And I kind of want to center this lesson, on an example of trust and where trust got these particular individuals, because them trusting in the Most High, them trusting in Yahweh Shema Shai, no matter what was brought to them, no matter what they were threatened with, they still maintain their trust and their faith in basically everything that they have or had in the Most High. Their belief, their faith, their trust, their hope, their expectation, right? Now, I just want to go here real fast. Definition of trust. So this is a definition of trust. It says trust is a firm belief
trust
in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of a person, organization, or thing. It involves the willingness to be vulnerable to the actions of another party, expecting positive and honest and consentant behavior. Key dimensions include competence, integrity, and dependability, which, all these things, our integrity, our willingness to, because we find ourselves in situations sometimes and it's just like, we have, like there's certain things that happen in life and things like that we've all said this, like, damn, what am I going to do? You might say that to yourself, and then you have really no other choice but to give it all to the Most High, to give it all to Yahweh Shema Shai, and when you go, and this is where we go from here to the lesson. This is the book of Daniel, the 3rd chapter. And we're just going to get right into it. This is Daniel 3:1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Duran, and it says, in the provinces of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes and the governors and the captains and the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces, to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the princes, the governors, captains, and judges, and treasurers, and counselors, and sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And an herald, which is basically a messenger, okay? And then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at the time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, phylactery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So that was the consequence if you hadn't served this image, or another word would be idol, that this king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, had set up, right? So you're going to be thrown into a fiery furnace. And therefore, at the time when the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, phylactery, and all kinds of music, and all the people, the nations, and languages fell down to worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou king hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, phylactery, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the provinces of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the image, the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do ye not serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, phylactery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. But if you worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God that shall deliver you out of my hands? So he's over here, threatening them. Look, if you don't do it, look, I'm going to put you in a position where, guess what? You ain't going to be able to get yourself out. Nor is anybody else, not even God, is going to be able to come and get you. So he's talking proud. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. So they just told him that, hey, if it be so, hey, the one whom we serve, all right, is our power, Yahweh Shem Shai. That's going to be the person. That's going to be the one that's going to deliver us. Okay, that's who's going to deliver us from you. But if not, but they even gave the other side of the coin. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, full of rage, and the form of his vesture was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and therefore he spake and commanded that he should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. So he turned the heat up on them, because that's how upset that their actions made him. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound with their coats, their hosens, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And therefore, because the king's commandment was so urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So even it was so hot to where those mighty men, of Nebuchadnezzar's armies, the ones that binded them and took them, and we're about to throw them in there. By the time, well, as soon as they was making them get into that furnace, that fire came and jacked them dudes up. Just to give you an idea of how, this was a big, it was a hot ass furnace, and flames were going wild. And it says, and these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound, into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. And he answered and said, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the son of the Most High, which is who? That'd have to be Yahushua. So they were walking right along with Yahushua in the fires. Then Nebuchadnezzar came to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Power, come forth and come thither. And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire, and the princes and governors and captains and the king's counselors gathered together saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was the hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. And Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel, and here's the point right here, and delivered his servants that trusted in him. You see, so even to the point where all around seemed lost for them, they still maintain their trust in the Heavenly Father. Even being thrown in, imagine somebody, you're going to be thrown into a pit, and there's just fire everywhere. That would think anybody of the world would think like, oh, we're cooked, we're dead, that's it. Smoke your last cigarette, that's it, we're done. Right? But these men had a different mind. They had matter of fact, let me go ahead and grab this. This was their mindset. This is Proverbs 11 and verse 20. What? Proverbs 11 and 23. And it says, the desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. So their desire was only good. They weren't in the spirit of, oh, we gonna be dead, we gonna die. Because when you read back up, verse 17, and if it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from out of thine hand. But then their other mindset was, but if not, be it known unto thee, meaning, just so you know, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So they gave him the polite, go fuck yourself. Okay? They flipped him off, told him, look, man, whatever happens, this happens. Our expectation is only good, man. Even if we die, guess what? We gonna be all right. Because they had the mindset of like, look, we gonna be good either way. And it was them trusting in the Heavenly Father to the end that got them, basically delivered out of that, tough situation.